COVID, gangbusters with ratings. Gangbusters with ratings, right? Which is why we constantly have the death toll on the side. Let's make it higher. Like, why isn't it high enough, today? Like, it would make our point better if it was higher. It's fear. Like, fear really drives numbers. Fear is the thing that keeps you tuned in. If it bleeds, it leads. Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads?
Yeah. No one ever says those things out loud, but it's obvious. What they're actually doing, telling the person what to say. It's an art form. It's always leading them in a direction before they even open their mouth. It's fear. Like, fear really drives numbers. Fear is the thing that keeps you tuned in.
What actually happens when a network cares more about ratings than the truth? In the case of CNN, owned by parent company Warner Media, it seems that CNN has resorted to other means in order to keep you watching. What you're about to see is so shocking. Admissions about COVID, its impact, the bias, and things that we've all suspected but have never been able to confirm until now.
It's fear. Like, fear really drives numbers. It does, The happiest days in news, people, I would imagine, turn it off and they go with the family. They don't stay glued to it. Unless there's something that's uniting them, like the moon landing or something like that. Fear is the thing that keeps you tuned in, I would imagine. What's the scariest thing there? Sad news doesn't do well with ratings. Like, if you can get someone impassioned, that does really well with ratings. Sad news, back to back to back, doesn't do really well unless it affects them directly. COVID, gangbusters with ratings, right? Which is why we constantly have the death toll on the side, which I have a major problem with, that we're tallying how many people die every day. Because I've even looked at it and be like, let's make it higher. Like, why isn't it high enough, today? Like, it would make our point better if it was higher. And I'm like, what am I rallying for? That's a problem.
Yeah.
That we're doing that,
Well, I mean, it helps with ratings.
Of course, yeah, but I would expect. I have a job. Sure, like, I'm happy about that, but I don't know.
Who gets to decide how long that stays on, or
head of the network? I've been in the room many a times where my director tells me take it down, and I take it down, and then we get a phone call, the bat phone rings in the back. It's literally a red phone, this special red phone rings.
Yeah.
And they pick it up, and this producer picks it up, and you're mop, 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 mop. And every so often they put it on speaker, and it's like the head of the network being like, there's nothing that you're doing right now that makes me want to stick. Put the numbers back up, because that's the most enticing thing that we have. So put it back up. So things like that are constantly talked about.
It's most likely a Jeff Zucker call. If Jeff Zucker, the head of our CNN, he makes the call, someone. Is that the head of the network with the red bat phone? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, in the first video, Charlie Chester and Rachel Hoffman gave us a first-hand account into how CNN's president, Jeff Zucker, really is on a minute-to-minute basis, even when it comes to graphics on the screen, COVID graphics. Charlie Chester referring to the red phone that rings to update the graphics, because remember, folks, it's all about ratings.
But why don't you guys at CNN show the recovery rates on the death tolls, at least?
The recovery rates? Who's had it and then recovered? Because that's not scary. I would imagine that's why they don't do it. Yeah.
That's what I figured.
If it bleeds, it leads. Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads?
Yeah.
I like that.
I think no one ever says those things out loud, but it's obvious based on the amount of stories that we do. The fact that we have a segment called The Good Stuff, which is a feel-good thing, but it's a dedicated moment at the end to almost be the ice cream to alleviate, everything that you've been through, like, you know, like something sweet to end it with. Because everything else is like doom and gloom. I mean, it's human nature. I mean, like, I find myself watching more news when there's something looming and scary.
Chester seems to have lost faith in CNN's ability to do honest reporting, not just at CNN actually, but in news generally.
I mean, there's no such thing as unbiased news. It just doesn't exist. There's too many agendas. There's too many people that have jobs that need to feed their families for it to be unbiased. You can't. It's impossible. The most unbiased news is grassroots, out of people's basements with podcasts. That's the most unbiased you can probably get. You know. And unfortunately, the trend is that when they could actually start making money off of it, you start to inherently destroy the thing that you love, you know, by like moving.
Do you think
up
CNN's done that?
Yeah, I don't think CNN's any different than Fox. I think it's on the different side of it, but I think they come off as very altruistic, but I think we buried the lead a lot. I think we.
What's that mean?
You ever watch? We have to sit down and watch it together for me to like point out some things. Listen to the way they ask questions, because they're not actually asking questions.
Who?
Any reporter on CNN.
Okay.
What they're actually doing is they're telling the person what to say. It's an art form in it.
What's it?
There's an art form to it, but it would be like the accident that you just saw, right? Like one of the reporters would be like, so that, you know, that man clearly went through the intersection, slamming into this car or whatever it was, and it really is unfortunate that, you know, our infrastructure of traffic lights and whatnot is falling apart in the city. How do you feel about the traffic lights and the infrastructure and whatnot? We've led them to talk about how we want them to talk about it. It's always like leading them in a direction before they even open their mouth. And the only people that we let on the air, for the most part, are people that have a proven track record of taking the bait. I think that there's like an art to manipulation. I think some people have figured it out inherently, but
Like with the media, or just like in
media
general?
and in just conversations.
Yeah.
I think when like you ever meet somebody that like you feel like you're being gaslit by, start to listen to how they word things.
What do you mean?
Inflection, saying things like twice, like there's little subtleties to how to manipulate people.
What's the difference between doing that like on a one-on-one basis or like a widespread news organization?
Oh yeah, I mean it's enough to change the world. You know? Yeah.
Isn't that the plan?
There's a plan. I think this time it worked with like the Trump thing. But look at the other side, how devastated they were. So were we the good guys or the bad guys? Depends on which side you were looking at it though, you know? Yeah.
Chester is fully aware of the power that CNN has over people. His words should caution people everywhere who takes the journalism at these corporations seriously. He tells us not to take it seriously. Chester tells us explicitly how the news business works. Now, if you thought this was bad, stay tuned for the next one, because in the next one, Chester gives us CNN's roadmap to the reality that they want you to believe.